I think the largest one that I recall at any given time was 136 pounds of counterfeit silver dollars.
Wow.
And this was not a one-off situation.
Hey, good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frostbyte. Thank you so much for coming today. I have a treat for you. You know that one of the missions on this particular channel is to stop myth and disinformation. And one of those things that really plagues our community and the hobby in general is counterfeit items. And so I have been working with the ACEF, the Anti-Counterfeiting Educational Foundation, to help bring some of their information to you, just another source for them to give information out. And I have been blessed with the opportunity to talk to one of their representatives, and her name is Beth. And for sake of privacy, I'm going to make sure that it's just the logo. But Beth, thank you so much for coming up today. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. It's great to have a chance to talk with you and to talk with your subscribers.
I sincerely appreciate it. Again, one of the things, and you know this firsthand, counterfeiting is a plague in our society. Can you do me a favor? Can you tell me a little bit about the ACEF, its mission, and kind of what you guys do to counter that?
Sure. ACEF is really the outgrowth of a major hobby effort. It started in 2014-15 when counterfeits were really noticeable in the marketplace. They were not, of course, at the level they are today, but it was becoming a problem. The American Numismatic Association, the Professional Numismatics Guild, and the Industry Council for Tangible Assets called what they named an industry summit at the ANA convention in Anaheim, California. And it was the day before the convention started. And this was in the summer of 2016. And the decision was to form a task force to be supported by these three organizations. And with members from each of these organizations, we were able to put together a team of some 90 individuals throughout the country. The purpose of these individuals was to be able to assist law enforcement. One thing people don't really understand, for law enforcement to seize an item as counterfeit, particularly coins or paper money, metals, numismatic collectibles, they must have an expert there to say, yes, this is a counterfeit, before they can seize it and take action. So in order to have people in strategic places throughout the country, particularly international ports, that's airports as well as seaports, we had people at the ready who said, yes, we can go down and we can identify and work with law enforcement. Now, these individuals had proven themselves so far as their knowledge. Many of them are at the level that they testify in court. And so we knew that these were a team of go-to people that law enforcement could call literally at a moment's notice and say, we need you here, or within an hour, or something of that nature. And that's how we really began our strategic work with federal law enforcement particularly. And what we realized out of our initial working was that all of the expertise, especially in the Secret Service and Customs and Border Protection, had either retired and not been replaced, or they had not kept a continual educational routine. They had at first started with the American Numismatic Association when ANA had its grading service and the summer seminar, and the agents would go and take courses there and learn how to identify counterfeits. Simultaneous to working alongside them, we began workshops and working with a team of special agents from the Inspector General's Office of the Treasury and training in different places throughout the country, and actually taking 30 to 40 agents at a time and putting them through an intensive 3-day workshop and then follow up with them when they had questions. We also developed special portals to provide information and identification for coins that they could go to even on their iPhones or smartphones. So it put law enforcement in a position to be able to go after counterfeiters. And to give you an idea, within the first 18 months, the task force was able to identify and help Customs and Border Protection and Secret Service intercept shipments of up. I think the largest one that I recall at any given time was 136 pounds of counterfeit silver dollars.
Wow.
And this was not a one-off situation on both coasts, on the East Coast and the West Coast. They were routinely intercepting shipments of that magnitude. And then we also began to notice counterfeit coins in circulation, particularly quarters. And we were able to alert banks and people who used change machines in particular to be alert to the fact and to take them out of our circulating coinage. So people often say, why would somebody think that counterfeiting a quarter, a pumpernickel quarter? You have to understand it might cost the U.S. government 17 cents to make a quarter, but the Chinese can buy the copper nickel on the open market and make counterfeits. They have the same equipment as the U.S. Mint does these days.
Yeah.
And they can make it for under 5 cents, bring it into the United States illegally, and get face value.
Oh, it's huge profit, especially when you're dealing with large volumes.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you do that by the ton, you make a handy profit.
Yeah.
So that's how we began working with them, because there was an immediate need. They understood that things were coming in, and I had Customs and Border Protection people who said, we see these things coming in marked $2 from China, and they claim they're antique or whatever, but it says on it, $50, like the fake American Eagle 1 ounce coins. And they said the face value, and we would show them if if it were real at that time, it was worth about $2,000.
Yeah.
Nobody would sell it for $2 or $3. So as they began to understand what they were looking at, it helped immeasurably in intercepting. Not to say that they were intercepting all, because they really only inspect a small portion of the material that flows through the network, particularly coming in through the U.S. Postal Service.
So you bring up a really good point, and that's a question that I want to ask. You're working with law enforcement. We hear this a lot in the streams. We have people comment and chat on videos. Why isn't law enforcement doing more to prevent these things from sites like eBay? And we talked a little bit about this. You and I know I've talked with Jack quite a bit, and he's been on my channel purveying information about counterfeits, and I know there's a ton of other people doing this. Can you talk a little bit about that situation and what the issue is? Now, barring the stuff that you and I have said about it's $2, folks. Come on. Barring the obvious, what are some of the barriers with monitoring a site like eBay? And then we'll get into kind of what the user can do here in a minute.
One of the major problems has been there's been virtually no regulation of the e-commerce site. And at first, we were dealing with the Chinese sites like Alibaba. And virtually everything on that site from the beginning has been counterfeit. And so we were able to warn people, don't go to Alibaba. It looks like you're getting away with a deal, but you're buying counterfeit.
Yeah.
Amazon opened its platform to international sellers. That opened the floodgates. When people tried to bring action against them, they said, oh, we're just a platform. We provide a place for buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
What the rub is this. It makes no difference to Amazon, to eBay, or any of those platforms, whether you're selling a counterfeit or a genuine item. They make money both ways.
Insert kill found here.
So, and eBay supposedly changed its algorithm this past February and said they were going to be able to identify counterfeits. What they did, the algorithm is now identifying genuine coins as fake and fake coins as genuine. And they're kicking legitimate sellers off. We've got a team working with them now. At first, when they put that algorithm in place, they said, we don't need human beings anymore. And we said, wait a
Yeah.
minute, do you understand what's going on? So finally, we were able to talk to them and say, we have a team of experts. We're willing to volunteer time. We're willing to work with you. So that has just gotten going again in the last 2 months. The problem is it's tedious and it's slow. Probably for every 100, for every one coin that the team is able to identify and say, hey, this is counterfeit, take it off, there's probably 100 or even 1,000 that they don't get down. So yeah, you can take down a few, but what it's going to take is everybody looking at what they're buying or selling, mainly buyers. The sellers know what they have. Buyers being alert and using common sense. When you see something that is originating from China or originating from a foreign country, you have to really look at and think about, okay, why is somebody sitting halfway around the world attempting to sell me something under the price of what I can buy it for here? Part of it is many people who think they want to buy coins have no understanding of what the precious metals market is.
That's a fact.
Collectors know that every silver dollar or every gold piece or whatever has a floor of value. At least it's worth the gold, silver, platinum, palladium, the amount of current world price, spot price, a minimum value. Plus, it could have a collector value, rarity. When you see, silver today is almost $43 an ounce. Nobody in his right mind would sell a genuine 1-ounce coin, American Silver Eagle,
Yeah.
$29.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, especially sending it halfway around the world. They don't
Yeah.
understand that. And that's why, like at our website, acefonline.org, we have a lot of information explaining how the metals market works so that people understand, it's not like buying clothes on sale because they're putting in winter lines now and you're going to buy summer clothes at
Right.
a 70% discount. The general public really has no understanding whatsoever, and they have more information available to them than ever before. Anybody can use their phone or computer today and check the spot price of precious metals instantly online. So it's not rocket science, but you got to take a little bit of individual responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And again, this is one of those where they always say, buy the book before you buy the coin. Understand what it is that you're buying, understand the inherent value of those items. And usually, on a rare occasion, people might get a really good deal on something because somebody doesn't know what they have. But that's the exception to the rule. If you don't know what you're looking for, you need to find somebody who does before you pull that trigger. It doesn't matter if you're in a coin shop. It doesn't matter if you're at a coin show. It doesn't matter if you're online. You should have a really good idea of what you're going there to buy and a really good idea of what that coin looks like and the value that coin carries. If you don't have that stuff ahead of time, you're just asking for trouble. And so this is a mission that you are aware that I'm on my channel. This is why I'm so happy that you guys have allowed me to interview you and to come alongside, because this is a massive problem and we have to educate people, especially our elderly.
Very true. It is a matter of educating people and getting them to think. If they would just slow down a second, they see something, oh, I want that, and I'm going to get a deal. I think it's in the American psyche. I got to have a deal. Beware of deals because they can bite you real quick.
You might be getting a deal. It just may not be the deal you think.
True expensive.
In line with that, this is something that I know when we first talked about doing this interview, you said something that made me laugh. It seems like common sense, but my grandfather always told me common sense is only common if everybody in the room has it. So because of that, let's talk some quote unquote common sense. So what are some of the most effective, non-destructive things that people can do to identify counterfeits?
The old wisdom was to carry a magnet with you. Guess what? The counterfeiters are smarter than the average person these days because they're now using alloys that a magnet does not attract. So that is really not a good test. And a lot of people talk about a ping test. If you don't have really exceptional hearing and have never heard what a genuine coin sounds like. Dealers deal with coins every day, many of them every hour. They can tell you in a second from what it sounds like. Most people who only see a coin once in a while or who have really never had very many coins, they're not going to be able to distinguish that. So let's just put aside those two things.
Before you go on, can I ask one question? I like the ping test. It does help me understand when I'm looking at bullion. But doesn't it kind of cause a false sense of security? Because not all coins sound the same.
Absolutely. You're correct.
Okay.
Even the amount of silver, a 90% silver coin sounds different than a 99.999 silver.
And that's fact. Yeah. Okay, and I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
It's just one of those things that people often forget about. This is the sound of the coin. The silver Morgan dollar is going to sound different than a 999 fine American Silver Eagle or a 925 Canadian or 80% silver Canadian. They're going to sound different. And so it's important that you not only do you understand what metal you're listening for, but what the metal content is. So I apologize for interrupting, but I appreciate the clarification.
No problem whatsoever. My go-to is for U.S. coins, especially. First of all, you should have a basic reference, something like the Red Book. You can go in any bookstore or most any of the hobby sites or Whitman, the publisher of that, and buy a Red Book and just keep it with you. When you get a coin, it will show you a picture of a genuine coin, the front or obverse, and the back, the reverse. Understand what the coin looks like. That's the first thing you should do, is familiarize yourself with the details of what the coin looks like. But critically, is knowing what the weight and the diameter of the coin is. The U.S. Mint, and as a matter of fact, all federal mint and the good private mints are very precise. They don't vary in the weight of the coin or the diameter of the coin. Every one is the same. If a Morgan dollar is going to be the same. Now, something that is really worn might vary in hundredths of a gram. It's not going to vary 3 and 4 grams.
Right.
You can buy online a very good digital pocket scale, and that weighs up to 100th of a gram. And just check the Red Book for what the weight of your coin is. It should be, unless it's really worn, exact. The same with the diameter. Today, you can buy a digital caliper, and it will give you precisely what the diameter is. It can't be off a millimeter or two. No such thing. If it is, it's counterfeit. Those are very handy, easy to carry in a small briefcase or whatever you're going to take to a show or to a shop, anywhere you're going. I never leave home without them. When I'm going to a coin show, I'm going to even coin meetings, coin club meetings, and things of that nature, because people will often hand me something and I will look at it and say, if you handle enough coins of a specific type, like a Morgan dollar, I usually have a really good sense that the weight is off, and I will test it with the digital scale. It's very easy to do. Everybody should learn how to use the digital scales. Buy one. You can buy, I think I spent online less than $40 for the book, 2 of those. I think $10, $12 for the digital scale. You can pay more, but you can get a good one for that price. And the same with the caliper, runs anywhere from, probably $20 to $30, depending. And you can get them at shows, the equipment suppliers. So it's a very easy equipment to use. And it's, as I said, it's essential today.
I'll be putting
check it.
I'll be putting a link in the description for scales, for digital calipers. So all the pieces of equipment that you're going to be talking about today, I'll make sure we get good links for items that you can pick up so you don't have to guess. You'll know exactly which ones are good, which ones can be utilized, and you can go do this. We're not sponsored by any of the companies that we may reference this on. This is just a resource for you to be able to access the information.
Okay, those are the basics. There are more sophisticated equipment that run in the thousands of dollars that dealers who specialize in bullion coins will more than likely have them in their shops, and sometimes you'll see them at the coin shows. Those are really good when you get into large bars because the counterfeiters will usually fill the center part of a large bar with tungsten because it's close in weight to gold. So it's you need the more sophisticated equipment for larger precious metals items. The bars come in all of the precious metals, and they're traded, both the privately made ones as well as those made by the government mint. The U.S. Mint does not make bars, but some of the foreign mints do, and very good ones. But you need to know the parameters of those bars. And if you go to those mints websites, they will list it right with their listing of their product. By the way, at our website, acefonline.org, we have links to all of the foreign mints.
Okay.
The ones who sell a lot of the precious metals, like the Canadian mint, the Austrian mint, and those that you can go right to their website, look at their products, but they will always give you the specifications of the coin or the bar or whatever they're selling.
I will make sure that I have that link in the description down below as well.
Yeah, it's just, as I say, you have to equip yourself with some basic tools and basic knowledge before you buy anything. It's the best money you will ever spend is buying something like the Red Book and those basic tools.
Yeah, I know that Jack, when he's talking about the Morgans, right? The graded Morgans that have the non-1921 that have the Morgan name on it that we know are counterfeit. He'll say that those are Red Book fakes. And people are like, what do you mean by Red Book fake? And it's if you look at the information, you'll see exactly what you're talking about, the weight, the diameter, the year, the mintage, those things that if you just looked at the Red Book prior to making that purchase, you would know that can't be real. There's a good friend of mine, Chuck Daughtry of Copper Coins, has an entire set of counterfeit cents. And it's fun because he'll show you like the 1922 cent or the 1958 cent, or they didn't manufacture a coin in San Francisco in that year. He thought, yeah, but they're still here. And so those are things where it's understand the coin before you buy it. And people think, oh my God, I got something cool. I got something rare. Folks, if the mint didn't produce anything like that, you're not going to find one. Everybody wants to find the aluminum cent. Everybody wants to find the 1943 copper. Everybody wants to find that 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die. And logic seems to go out the window when they think they've outsmarted the person selling the item. And again, folks, if it's too good to be true, it really is. So this leads me into my next question for you, which is beyond the financial loss. Now, we know that some of these coins, one of the counterfeits that Jack came up and showed on my channel was $10,000 counterfeit, extremely expensive. What are the significant risks to buying a counterfeit coin or bar? What should people think about? Because we've heard people say, I'm collecting mercury dimes, for instance. I don't have the 1916D, but I can buy a fake one just so it's in my book. What is the harm in that?
First of all, it's against federal law to import coin. Most of the fakes are coming from outside the country today. It's against the law to buy or sell it in commerce. It is against the law for you to possess it. Even possession of a counterfeit, it can land you 10 years in federal prison and a hefty fine. These are laws that have been on the books for a number of years. And yet, most of the time, they don't go after ones or twosies, as the law enforcement says. But if you got a significant number of them, yes, they absolutely could go after you. And the danger for me is that, okay, I've got a complete set of mercury dimes, except that for another key date, and I buy these fakes, and I know they're fake. Something happens to you. Your family goes to sell your collection. They don't know the difference.
Exactly.
So they try to sell it, and sometimes they will try to sell it privately, and people buy them, and then they find out they're counterfeit. They're going to come back on you. That's where oftentimes the law enforcement gets involved. By the way, federal laws apply to these because they're produced by the federal mint.
Yep.
However, also coming into play are statutes of fraud and state laws, and you can be prosecuted under state law and federal law. And some of my recent research, it was a case that I thought was really important. And it's still one of the major cases today where a woman in the 1839 was prosecuted in Ohio for passing a counterfeit coin. And she was convicted and she appealed it on the basis that she couldn't be prosecuted for under state and federal law. The Ohio Supreme Court said, yes, you can. She appealed it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and in 1847, the U.S. Supreme Court said, yes, you can. That law and that decision still is the definitive decision. So you open yourself and your family to possible violations of fraud on the state level and of counterfeiting on the possession of counterfeits on a federal level. So there is legal jeopardy. It's not just a fun game. You can protect yourself and you can protect future generations by having it marked copy. Under provisions of the Copy Protection Act that was passed first in 1973 and then amended, and there's some provisions added in 2014 to protect the counterfeiting of the plastic holders that rating services use, you can have your coin marked copy. Now, we have the laws, the 1973 law and the update from 2014 at our website again. And you can review, you can see how it's defined and what the sizes of the copy mark should be. There were so many of these things happening. The Secret Service said to us, why don't you guys offer a service where you will mark the coin's copy? So that's what we did. About 18 months ago, we went to, by the way, that equipment is not available in the marketplace. I've had people say, where can we buy it online? And there is now a man who made the equipment for us is going to be offering the equipment online that you can buy it. He makes the punches to the specifications of the law, and he makes a stand where you can hold it in place and tap it with a hammer and cue that mark. It doesn't have to be on both sides. It just has to be on either the obverse or the reverse. We're offering that as a free service at major shows, like, for instance, next week in Chicago, the Great American Coin and Collectibles Show at Rosemont. It'll be on Friday and Saturday, and we don't charge for that. If you bring the coin in, and we know that the Secret Service says as long as they're bringing them to you, we're not gonna go out there and try to arrest people. You're offering a service to try to make them aware of what the law is and to save them a lot of heartache and perhaps their children and grandchildren.